Alrighty, guys, and welcome back here to, of course, now we're doing the daily quest. I guess the stream has ended and the daily quest has begun. So this is episode number 10. I'll actually get that written in here. The daily number 10. And what are we talking about, guys? Well, we are in fact talking about the wolf, the orc boy, the dog, as Templestorm calls him. Now, that's Rehgar. That's Rehgar, right? In depth discussion. Sure, that's a good title. All right, so now the fun story that I've been told about Dog is when shot calling competitive matches, Templestorm, they have to say, you know, kill Rehgar, kill Rehgar, kill Rehgar. Well, Rehgar it's a lot of syllables, and I guess they call him Dog for that purpose. So they say dog, 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 dog when they want to kill Rehgar, and I just find that amusing because he's a wolf. He's not a dog. He is a wolf. Well, who is Rehgar? Rehgar is, in fact, a support hero in Heroes of Storm. He was added a little bit after PAX East last year. No, way after PAX East, actually. He's not new, but he was a relatively later on addition in terms of the alpha. And we can actually just pull him up and take a quick look at this hero. Boom, bam, boom. This is Rehgar, and this is kind of like what he has for his kit. Now, he's got a chain heal. Very, very shamanesque. He's got the chain heal. It jumps between about 3 targets. You can expect to have it more. Lightning shield. It literally just puts a spinning balls of lightning around the hero that you target. You can put it on any friendly health bar. So that means zombie wall. That means banelings because they have a health bar. That means that the banelings that Zagara shoots. You can put them on your own Earthgrass totem. That's his E. Pretty much anything. So it's kind of a neat little tidbit that you can do with the lightning shield, because some people don't realize that when there's a zombie wall down at someone, you can actually throw that lightning shield on the zombie wall. Is it an efficient thing to do? Probably not, but it's still an option. And of course, the Earthbind, that's just a slow. It's an AoE slow. You throw that down to have a little bit of more control over that battlefield. A lot of other supports have polymorph, have the stun like Uther, something of that sort. Lunar Flare and Tyrande. He's got the Earthbind totem, and there's a lot of utility. It's very different, unique for him. But the cool thing about Rehgar is, again, he's a dog. He's a dog. He's got Ghost Wolf. That's a transformer to a wolf. It's an instantaneous mount that cannot be dismounted because it's his own 4 legs. He just turns into a wolf. And then Bloodlust, super fun. We've seen it be big and impactful in the competitive scene. And then Ancestral Healing, really popular in the current meta. It's the largest single target heal in the game, but it has a bit of a wind up, so you have to lead with it a little bit. You have to use it preemptively, assuming that the target that is going to be blown up soon, you have to say, okay, react and cast it a little bit ahead of time, because otherwise, well, it might not get off in time, and it'll put it on a 10-second cooldown. But let's take a look at this guy's talents. Rehgar, again, he's a support. And what does he specialize in? In doing supporty things. He can deal a decent amount of damage, and he can get some burst, and we'll talk about that. So looking at level 1, he's got the Spirit Walker's Grace that reduces the mana cost of his chain heal. He's got Empowering Charge that also increases the damage of the next 3 basic attacks. So this is kind of cool if you're playing with Illidan, or maybe playing with Thrall. It has that synergy with Wind Fury and Thrall. It has that synergy of Illidan being in your face. And then of course you have Colossal Totem, increases the area of the totem by 50% and its health by 100%. So cool. You know, if you're trying to go for a very control kind of composition, maybe this fits in. But you know what it boils down to? Healing Totem is actually just too darn good. It's actually just that good to the point where you don't get anything but Healing Totem. So level 1, do everyone a favor. Do everyone a favor and get Healing Totem, because a level 1 totem, my goodness, is it good. Looking at level 4, we have Feral Heart, we have Chain Reaction that increases the amount of healing received when you have the Lightning Shield on that target already. You have the Focused Attack, that's a generic talent on many heroes. The Reactive Spark, Lightning Shield's duration does not start until the enemy is nearby. Kind of a bad talent. This makes it so that you can't use Chain Lightning to clear things like Creep Tumors, because it won't actually be active until you're near an enemy. So I hate this talent. I actually loathe this talent. And of course, Farsight. That's pretty much just clairvoyance, but a little bit different. It's called Farsight. When it comes to level 4, in competitive, if you're playing a competitive Rehgar, you have 2 options. Farsight, if you're in a team comp, you're actually on Skype with your friends, and you have good communication and good control, Farsight has an incredible amount of potential to just reveal the enemy and react to it. It is fine in solo queue, but I find that more effectively, and especially if you're just learning Rehgar, Feral Heart is huge, because you can just sit there and get this 100% mana regen bonus, the 100% health bonus, and suddenly you have so much sustain on this hero because he doesn't have Conjurer's Pursuit. So many other supports have Conjurer's Pursuit to help them keep their mana pool up. Rehgar doesn't have that. So Feral Heart not only helps mitigate it, but is even better because, let me tell you, when you're hanging around in wolf form and you're sitting in the mines fighting over that first Grave Golem, you're trying to get it, and people are respawning very quickly and re-entering the mines time and time again. This will help you maintain your mana pool and win so many fights, and you're just like sitting there in wolf form and not doing all that much, and it might not seem like it's like, oh well, I should be punching this golem and doing a little bit of damage. At that point, your damage is negligible, and just having mana to keep your team alive is so incredibly crucial. So I would really encourage Farsight. And level 7, well, you got Battle Momentum, you have Earth Shield, you have Shadow Wolf, which is cute, and you have Searing, another generic. Really, Battle Momentum has like some cool potential, and it's something that we don't really see a lot of use on, but what typically we see and what you should probably do if you're learning Rehgar is use Earth Shield. Earth Shield used to give 200 damage of absorption, but now it only gives 100 shielding of absorption. And the wording was backwards there one time. I'm not sure which was correct, but really good talent, even with only 100 damage that you can soak up, because it gives you a bit of burst sustain, and it also just helps out. So Earth Shield, something you're going to be using a lot anyways. This makes it better because it soaks up damage. Really strong. And looking at 10, Ancestral changes fights so hard. So many competitive fights come down to, does Ancestral get off? If it does, the team that has it wins. If it doesn't, the other team wins. And it's actually just that big of an ability because it can just turn fights so quickly, because you have these focus targets for the enemy team. You have Illidan. He gets in their face. He takes a ton of damage. They try to blow him up. They throw that Hunter's Mark on him, and they just use all of their cooldowns to try to kill him. Ancestral Healing comes through when he's at 10% health. He has full health suddenly. Oh my goodness, they're actually screwed. They spent so many resources trying to kill him, and he has full health again. Like, it's so good. But Bloodlust, not popular in the current meta, also has a ton of potential. You talk about heroes that have transformations, Archon on Tassadar. You talk about the Odin on Tychus. You talk about, again, Metamorphosis with Illidan. And you give them Bloodlust, and they suddenly have this 40% attack speed and 30% movement speed. It's kind of scary. And by kind of scary, I mean it's actually terrifying. So really strong ability, not super popular in competitive meta, but definitely some really fun compositions you can do on ladder with your friends. Even like, just imagine Berserker or Sonya with Metamorphosis in your face, and they both have Bloodlust. It's not something anybody ever wants to have to fight. That's just terrifying. And alright, so moving to 13, Healing Surge is a very good option. That just increases the heal done by 25%. Very strong. And of course, then there's Stormcaller, reduces the cooldown of Lightning Shield from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, and reduces the cost. It's nice, but if you have Feral Heart, you're probably not worrying about mana all that much. The Lightning Totem, it just gives your totem the Lightning Shield around it when you cast it. Feral Lunge, really fun. It gives your first attack out of wolf form, which always does 100% bonus damage. It gives it 200% bonus damage in an animation where you leap forward at the target. So that's a really cool thing that you can do with Feral Lunge, and this also can help you position. So you can actually do an advanced technique called chain lunging. It's hard to do, and it's a little bit glitchy, but if you right-click on a target and you lunge at it, and then you right-click on another target before the lunge actually completes, a lot of the times it will actually just change your target and go to dive at something else and try to kill that target. So it's there's a lot of fun potential with the ability, and you can also get into position to throw down a big Earthgrass totem. So I would say Feral Lunge is the spell or the talent here I would suggest, but it's also really good to consider Healing Surge because it is additional healing. And if you need the sustainability, 25% additional healing on your primary target and additional targets is quite good. Moving to 16, there's Lightning Bond. This makes it so that when you cast the Lightning Shield, you also get it. So you cast it on your Illidan bro, Rehgar gets it too. It's a free Lightning Shield, and when you're speccing into the level 7 talent with Earth Shield, it has a lot of synergy. But Earthgrass Totem, once upon a time, was a root. Now it's a 90% slow, but you know, it's only 90% slow for 1 second, but it changes so much. You put that down while somebody's trying to get out of the way of a zombie wall. You put that down while somebody's sitting there in a Ravenous Spirit. If you're playing on Garden of Terror, you put it down and they get stuck in that Queen's Curse and it polymorphs them. It has so many, those are like specific situations. Just in general, it can really, really do a lot of work. And I like to pair Feral Lunge with that because you dive at them and then you throw this down. It stops everyone pretty much in place for 1 second, and you can change so much in terms of the battlefield with that. And of course, Blood for Blood, always a good talent. A little bit more burst, a little bit more individual sustain for Rehgar. Definitely a good option. So these are probably the two you're leaning towards. Lightning Bond has its cute ideas. Again, if you're going for a very like duo queue, I'm playing with Illidan, we're on ladder together. You could mess around with Lightning Bond and Empowering Charge. It's like a fun idea. Berserk, never get it. Never get it out in Rehgar. Terrible decision. Just don't do it. And when it comes to 20, it's actually really interesting. The Global Bloodlust is not really all that good. But the Farseer's Blessing is actually pretty cool, so it increases the amount of healing by 50%, and allies near the target are healed by 25%. So this gives Ancestral Healing splash. It literally spills healing out around the target that you're casting this on, and it makes it an AoE heal. But it's hard to utilize that effectively. So I find that Storm Shield is my go-to. I find that Storm Shield is the way to go, but you really can't count out Rewind ever, because having 2 Earthgrass Totems, having 2 Chain Heals, especially if you're speccing into Healing Surge, be able to rewind Healing Surge twice and cast 2 Lightning Shields and cast 2 90% slows with the Earthgrass Totem, really good option. So I would really lean towards these two, but in one thing to consider with Storm Shield, since Ancestral Healing has that bit of a build-up to it, it has the build-up where you need to cast it on your ally, this gives you additional time to prepare for that build-up. And with that preparation time, maybe that's the exact buffer you need to get the spell off. So that's typically what we look at for Rehgar, and kind of how you can build him. So definitely encourage you guys try out a few of those different options and have fun with that. But I am gonna get ready to look at some replays. Now, I need to change the Twitch title. The Daily Quest number 10. Rehgar discussion. Good. That's up to date. And I feel like I'm missing something else. I know I am. Aha, I know what it is. Does this break everything? If I load a different presentation. Guys, we're going a bit crazy here. So this might break everything. I'm going to be loading. I'm actually on the wrong XSplit presentation. And I know that to most of you, you probably say, what the hell does that even mean? Well, that's irrelevant. Oh, it worked. It worked. We're still alive. Good. Now, just all my information's wrong. And good. All right. So we are just about ready. We're going to load up the replay. And so Rehgar is, in a lot of ways, considered to be the best support in the game right now, in competitive play. And of course, I cast competitively, and I cast for the ESL Major League. So we see Rehgar in almost every game. So I actually didn't even have to look that far. And pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to look at competitive matches that happened on Tuesday in the ESL Major League between Evil Geniuses and Cloud9 Maelstrom. Now, these matches were actually a pretty big deal for the teams, because basically what it boils down to is there's a 3-way tie between Murlocs Inc., EG, and Maelstrom. And it comes down to, like, do or die. So if EG lost this series, spoilers, they did. They were out of playoff contention. And what it did is it set it up so that Maelstrom would now be tied with Murlocs. So that's the situation. Maelstrom and Murlocs are now tied up. But that's all irrelevant, and we're going to load up that game so we can look at that series. So these are, in fact, games from the series between EG and Maelstrom. Like I said, looking at pro play, and I believe in this one it's Dunk Train playing as Rehgar. Rehgar is a great guy. He's a wolf. He's an orc. He's everything. And we're just going to talk about, like, kind of some of his decision-making, positioning, and, like, what makes the hero so valuable and, you know, arguably the best support in the game right now. Of course, with patches, you know, iterations of, like, new maps coming in, and other changes like that, that list of heroes and the balance from, you know, who's the best changes all the time. but as it stands, in North America at least, I think a lot of people would say Rehgar is king. ETC, ETC and Stitches, both kind of king for the tank category, and that's something you really have to look at this. This is an interesting composition, and we should actually talk about the compositions before we dive into this game. What is this? An ETC and a Stitches, so the two best tanks in the game on one team, with iDream, a very highly sought-out assassin, or I guess it's Illidan, not iDream. Dunk Train playing as Rehgar, K1 Pro playing as Lost Vikings, the newest hero in the game, right? It's such a weird hero. At first, everyone was like, "Oh no, they're not going to be played," and now they have like something like a 90% win rate in competitive matches. But on the other side of the map, what are we up against? It's going to be Evil Geniuses. They have this Candy King Muradin. They have Vala. Super top tier assassin. Jaina, very bursty. Idra really likes Jaina. Sheth playing on that Uther, the next best support, and then Tyrande is that pseudo support. So they're stuck with Muradin because the two top tier tanks in this game, Diablo was banned. So typically you'd see EG really likes to play Diablo with Tyrande and Jaina. And what they do with Diablo is they flip you over to the other side, they line up the Lunar Flare to stun you as soon as Diablo flips you, and then they just follow up with all the burst damage from Jaina and Tyrande and Hunter's Mark. So that's why we saw Diablo banned out. But those are the compositions for this game, and we're just going to see the power of our little orc buddy Rehgar in this match. And already you can just see the damage going down, dishing out what they can do to each other. It's kind of uncommon to see pro teams fight over this watchtower at the beginning of the game. It does happen because it has a lot of value. It gives you complete vision of two lanes on the map, so you can't really discredit how useful that is. And of course we have K1 Pro constantly soaking with that Eric. Now Lost Vikings can control all three of them, and he uses that to make sure that he has full soak on the map as often as humanly possible, keeping the other two in the mid and leaving Eric down bottom with iDream to push that lane back. Of course, Eric the Viking much faster. But look at this immediately. We're seeing the Rehgar use the lightning shield. Each time that passes by, it hits that chest, grabbing the chest so very quickly. But in return, in the top lane, since there was so much pressure from Evil Geniuses, they were able to get 3 of the coins and pick up the first kill of the game on Stitches. So Dunk's going to be pacing around, looking around. He's got that healing totem, like we talked about, for level 1. And that gives you so much presence when it comes to team fighting. So when it comes to fighting over a tribute, when it comes to fighting over the mines, anything like that, you have that for level 1. Now most heroes, I mean in 90% of all situations, you're going to be level 4 by that point. So heroes like Tyrande, Tassadar, that have the healing ward as well at level 4, because every other hero has it at 4. It's healing ward, not healing totem, but it's essentially the same spell. Yes, they'll have it for those objectives, but it's still nice to consider that that's his level 1 talent. He's spending that 1 talent on the healing ward, and it's, it might even be the best level 1 talent in the game, considering how impactful it is. Vikings, they switched it up. They've got the full trio, all 3 of them in that bottom lane, no longer trying to split their focus, and they're doing their best to push back Chthon luck. And we can see Rehgar is pairing up with Illidan. Remember I emphasized this combo, this pair, Rehgar Illidan? There's so much synergy because Illidan is so in your face and so flipping all over the place that when you throw the lightning shield on him, he is by far the most efficient target to put it on, because you just can't get away from him. And Chthon luck will fall. iDream might have overextended a little bit, and one more shot will kill him. Yes, he does end up losing his life for his bit of over-aggression that was actually not even necessary. And Dunk is just continuing to go around. So that's the other thing about Rehgar. He's looking for that level 4 talent. Does he go for Farsight, or does he go for the Feral Heart? We'll find out. But his ability to jungle, he's using this healing ward to keep himself sustained. That's 3% healing every single second provided by that. And he's using that to take these giants by himself. He makes sure to position himself in the center of the giant camp, cast the lightning shield to deal damage to both of them. And look at this. He sees this one's low. He knows it's going to die from the lightning shield, so he switches his target. And that's something that I can't stress enough. That's very important to do. He uses the wolf form as often as possible because that's 100% bonus damage when you hit in the wolf form. So when you're just sitting there fighting a target, you actually want to hit Z as often as possible just to get that bonus damage out of the Feral Heart as often as you can, even if you don't have Feral Lunge. Feral Lunge makes it more effective, sure. Oh no, but EG has this big rotation in the bottom. Dunk Train Gonna try to get his team out. He throws the healing ward down. iDream not gonna be able to get enough healing from that, as the poison from the Envenom out of Idra gonna be enough to pick up that kill. And this is actually looking terrible. But notice Dunk was kind of in a pretty far forward position. He is easily one of the safest heroes to leave. Cameron Pro is like pinging so much. He is easily one of the safest heroes to leave coins on because he has that wolf form that he cannot be dismounted out of. He can just pop it into wolf form and get the heck out of so many situations that other heroes cannot live in. So he's got that nice insurance policy he signed up for by being a wolf, and it works out for him a lot of the time, especially on this map. I mean, it's just a really nice benefit to not have to worry about a lot of situations where other tanks would be essentially screwed. Chef sitting on 10 coins, but 10 coins have just been turned in, so he's not going to be able to turn in his coins. And of who turned those coins in, that would be our little wolfie, Mr. Rehgar, rotating around the map. Dunk Train going to continue collecting coins. He's a support, and he hasn't been hanging out in lanes healing. He's been roaming around collecting coins, and that's a great way to play him, especially on this map. Let's get a status update on all the talents. Pretty much some standard stuff across the board, but you will notice that Rehgar did opt for Farsight. He's valuing that for the vision, especially when it comes to things like turn-in. If you don't know exactly where the enemy team is and you think they're probably at the turn-in, throw Farsight down. Additionally, if you're turning in your coins and you think you might get collapsed on, throw a Farsight over here. That'll give you complete vision as to what's going on. Tyrande has that same kind of idea. She's going to shoot owls at you. She actually has golden magical ghost owls that fly across the map and ruin your day. And she's going to use them as often as she frequently can, because rather, she likes them very much. She likes to shoot them out. But ZP's is going to be able to dwarf toss over that lane, getting himself to safety, and we see the stage dive coming out from King Caffeine. Level 10 to level 9. EG cannot fight until they hit 10, and there it is. So just reading over the heroics, we have the longboat raid on the Vikings, the stage dive, the metamorphosis, putrid bile, and ancestral healing on our Rehgar. But this dwarf toss, they are so cluttered up. EG has a great position here. Look at the Rain of Vengeance hitting so many targets. Ancestral healing does not get off. The Starfall, Rain of Vengeance, longboat raid just excuse me, not longboat raid. That was just a disgusting wombo, and Maelstrom just got, you know, stomped into the ground essentially. You never like to see that happen, but whew. Question in the chat, is Chef still on Cloud9? Chef is, in fact, a free agent. He's currently playing the rest of the ESL Major League under the banner of Evil Geniuses, but he has not been added to their official roster. So he is a free agent. Cloud9 rosters are on their website, cloud9.gg. Check those out there, but this map is continuing. The 10 coins from Chef have been turned in, giving the first siege to Evil Geniuses in this map. And iDream is going to try to bully him back a little bit. I don't know how successful he will be, but at least we got some giant bros coming down to help him out. And, of course, our little wolfie friend, King Caffeine, and 3 chubby little Vikings. Eric, not the chubbiest. He's the least chubby of the 3 Vikings, but either way, I still say he's kind of chubby. Stitches. Middle lane doing his thing, Jaina. Who knows what Idra's doing? He's just running around. He's going to find a target. Maybe he's going to help his friends out here. No, they don't need help. Jaina, oh, they're looking at that turn-in. They're considering it. Dunk Train, all by himself, but again, he's got the wolf life. Oh my goodness, though, in this bottom lane, we heard the Divine Storm being enough to pick up all 3 Vikings. K1 Pro losing his life. That timer is completely and totally bugged out, so that's not going to work. We're not going to know when they're going to be back, but that's okay. That's okay. That's just the replay client. Caffeine turning in 4 coins. Sentinel not going to find him today. Looking completely differently. The Sentinel's target is, of course, this boss. And the turn-in is, in fact, there. So that's another siege onto the enemy team. But during this, EG's putting this pressure on the bottom lane. But what's Rehgar doing? He's looking around the map. Let's look at his numbers. He's got 4.7k healing. He's failing. He's failing. He's losing to an Uther, and although Uther has a nice beard, I don't know if that's what you want to do. But he's picking up that healing surge. That's going to help him out. Now, what do we talk about as the options here at level 13? Oh, we'll talk about that in a second, as there's a huge... this time the Rain of Vengeance not connecting like it did last time. Ancestral healing will be enough to keep iDream alive. Biceps backing up, throwing out down that hook. The shield coming out from the lightning is going to be... And, of course, the healing ward puts him pretty much back to full. And our janitor, Mr. Illidan, cleaning up this mess that is left for him. The longboat raid launching out some volleys, and the hook is available. Does connect. And good night, C9 Chef. Now, C9 Chef is what it says. Again, he does not play for C9 as it stands. And Ploop, yes, there will be keys. I will be getting out a key after this broadcast. Stick around for that, my friend. But speaking to the match, Vikings cleaning up this mess. Baylog, he's the one with the AoE splash. He's just shooting it out, splashing. Boom, boom, boom. Good night. These guys, they're retreating. They took out the fort. Hey, let's grab some bruisers. That's a great idea. Yeah, oh, well, we all agree. Yeah, let's get them. Destroying those bruisers. They've got a lot of coins. Taking a look at that coin count. Oh, is that enough? Let's math here and stream. That's 12. Ooh, got it changed. All right, start over. 13, 14, 15, 18 coins. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. But EG knows they want to collapse here. This is the brilliant play made by Maelstrom. They do not do the predictable thing. They don't walk through the middle of the map. I can't emphasize enough at how big of a decision that is. They say, oh, well, they know that we have a lot of coins. They actually have 0 coins on the side of EG. How can they get back into this game? They can steal all their coins. Well, let's just all go back to base and then come back out on the map when we're in a position that we like, not going to get party bushed, and then collect more coins. And that's exactly what Maelstrom does. Rotating around, they're going to find this top chest. Bottom chest was picked up by EG, and EG is looking for that fight. They have to take that fight, but they're down a talent tier now. So Maelstrom took that defensive stance, hit level 16. Rehgar now picked up Earthgrass Totem. And man, it's looking good for Maelstrom in this game. But EG, they know they really can't commit too much of a fight until they do, in fact, finally hit that level 16, catch up in the talent tier. They need to either get picks or, you know, find a good team fight. But I like this. Maelstrom positioning around the boss. They want to force EG to engage, and that's exactly what they want to do. They have this Farsight. This Farsight continues to get so much use on Rehgar. He's throwing it out, getting vision, and Faye disconnects. Goodbye. Goodbye, my sweet Faye. Little Tyrande bot. They're going to ping her. When you ping bots, they will actually follow you. And that's their way of saying, get back here. We don't need you dying. Oh, no, but ZP's gets hooked. The root comes out. The boss has been picked up by Maelstrom, and 16 is still a long ways away for Evil Geniuses, so they have to be incredibly cautious. A lot of coins available on the side. There is definitely turn-up potential like we talked about already, and they've done nothing but collect more and more coins, and Maelstrom's going to take this opportunity of A, the boss pushing, and B, all the coins they have to get this turn in, but constantly they're using Farsight. You can't, I mean, when you pick up Farsight, you need to make sure you use it to cover your flanks. It's nice to use it to say, okay, are they taking the boss? All that does is tell you information that you probably already suspect that's happening. But when you use it as, like, covering your flanks and covering your positioning, like, okay, well, how can we lose this engagement? Well, if they flank us from this side and we're not aware of it, we could lose this fight. Well, Farsight can prevent that from being even possible. It's like, I can't wait for them to make a command center hero that you can just scan. All you can do is scan for days. You just scan the map. And with those scans, you just have so much information, so much control over the battlefield. So, gonna be very interesting to see, you know, if that ever becomes a thing. But Farsight has definitely found its place in the competitive meta, and it's so very warranted. So they're moving in. They're going to be grabbing these giants. They're just collecting all the objectives. We can see the map is very much blue. Only one red merc camp. 2 minutes left on that timer, and EG is moving on in to grab themselves some pirates. Pirates giving them the 2 coins. Nice, nice, nice. But still not quite enough for a turn-in, as they do need 12, and they're only sitting... Oh, yeah, that one. Ooh, that's 9, 10, oh, that's 11. See, they need one more coin. I was right. They don't have enough. ZP's moving forward, trying to put that pressure on, but it does force out Putrid Bile. So already, that might be worth it, but ETC wants to get his initiation on. Ancestral Healing is going to be there just in time, and that's going to signal iDream to metamorphosis into the battlefield. Chef will be the first one down. Faye is in a horrendous spot, taking a lot of damage. I actually don't even know if she's still alive. Slipping away. The heals just keeping her barely alive, and ultimately she does fall. The stage dive, King Caffeine, so far away from the rest of his team. Going to donate 5 points to Evil Geniuses, but Idra sprint. Oh, dodges the hook, and I think Idra's going to get out of this. Feral Lunge is not available. If Feral Lunge was picked up, and if Dunk Train did not get hit by that slow out of Idra, very likely that he would have been able to get in there. But iDream decides to try to put some aggression on, but in that Earthgrass Totem, a little bit too late to save the opportunity to pick up that kill on Idra. So They made the best out of the situation. ETC went a little bit too far forward, losing his life. But all in all, not too shabby. Gonna get rid of those pings. Sorry about that, nerds. And yeah, Illidan or ZP is with those 11 coins jumping forward, the jump out of our Lost Vikings, and they will use their Mount Sprint ability to try to get out of this, but I don't think Olaf is gonna make it. Some coins await the team. Oh, maybe he will. Oh no, not with that positioning, not with that pathing, if you will. Ruining his day, but this is gonna signal a lot of coins to be picked up over here, and looking at the map. You can see that there is, in fact, finally enough coins for EG, and they're going to try to turn in right now. Farsight revealing their position, well aware that Faye is here, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, as enough coins have been turned in already. And looking at the stats, Rehgar sitting at that 29k, so his healing started out a bit slow, but now that he picked up Ancestral, now that he picked up the talent at level 13, the additional healing, it's really started to go a bit through the roof. And he's sitting at double of what Uther has been able to do in this game. Of course, healing totem, a big part of that equation. On top of that, Muradin is going to pop that form putrid bile used in response, and he's trying to dwarf toss his little way out of here. That healing totem, got to pick that off when you walk by it. And Big Head Mike, thank you for the subscribe, my friend, but we'll talk about this in a minute. We'll give you your stuff dance, dashing forward ZPs. Wait. Probably, take a lot of damage, but the Metamorphosis going straight for Idra, and then Chthon Lock. You can't run away from something like that. So mobile, so agile. He's a gymnast in his spare time. And the stage dive for the second chance to get in your face, knocking them back, obliterating EG, and I think this very well might be the end of the game. You can see the power of the Earthgrass Totem there on Rehgar, going down, locking him in place. And ZPs? Yeah, so again, Rehgar having so much power just with the mobility of that wolf form. The Earthgrass Totem locking people in position. The additional damage you get by throwing that lightning shield onto the Illidan. The power of the Ancestral Healing just churning fights. I mean, if we go back to that last engagement, let's actually just look at that last engagement one more time to kind of analyze why it was such an impactful thing. We just gotta wait 10 days for it to load. Oh, how many times do I have to press this button? This button goes back a little bit in the game. Okay, one more. I think one more. Yes, roughly here. All right, so one more, and then we can look at this engagement. I mean, this is kind of like why Rehgar is the guy to be. This is who you want to be when you grow up. You want to be Rehgar, because look at this. Look at Illidan. Illidan taking a lot of damage. Did we miss it? We missed it. I'm the worst. I'm actually just terrible. Illidan. Right? This is where it happens? I dream. Super low. Super low. Soon? No, I'm thinking of a completely different situation, so actually just completely ignore me? Because I have failed all of you. I know there was a really impactful Ancestral Healing at some point in that game. I thought it was that last engagement, but apparently I'm crazy. And to rip that replay because the game does in fact end there. So GG's to Maelstrom, but we're going to look at another game. We're going to see, a different map. How does Rehgar pan out? Because we saw how we worked there on Blackhearts. We saw the impact of having the Lightning Shield when you take a chest. We saw the impact of being able to roam around and collect a lot of coins early game because you're very mobile, you're very free. If you get caught in a bad position taking one of those merc camps, guess what? You just pop into your wolf form and you wolf away. A wolf. I need a wolf plushie. Someone mail me a Rehgar plushie. Handmade, please. And we're just going to load up the second replay. Rehgar. Now, same teams. Same day. Oh, Big Head Mike. He wants his dance. He is very upset with me because he Alright, that's your dance, okay? I hope you're satisfied, my friend. I hope you're satisfied. Thank you for the sub, Big Head Mike. But we are going to continue forward, and we're going to open up this second game. Now, same teams. Maelstrom. Same day, actually. This game happened right after the other one, but I thought they were good games. I thought there was some good examples of seeing the Rehgar played, and we're going to see Rehgar played by two different players. So switching over to our screen here, this time it's going to be Chthon Lock playing as Rehgar. It has switched hands so that, of course, Rehgar is now being played by Evil Geniuses, and Maelstrom has a very different composition. But looking at the compositions, well, that's K1 Pro playing as Vala. He was Vikings last game. We have Biceps playing Malfi, Caffeine on the Sonya Dunk Train playing Tyrande, and iDream on Illidan. Really leaning towards that Illidan. They like it. He's very impactful, but without Ancestral Healing, a little bit more of a risk. But hey, Tranquility's pretty okay too. Looking at the other side, that's going to be Chef playing Uther once again. Idra, this time he's on Hammer Faye, playing as Stitches, and then Cathan Luck, that's going to be Rehgar, and last but not least, ZP's on the ETC. So what do we see here? What do we see that's really weird? Well, it's double tank, double support, and ETC Stitches, 2 top-tier tanks. Uther, Rehgar, 2 top-tier supports. So in that regard, this draft looks really good for them. Diablo is once again banned out. What do we have for a tank? It's Sonya Illidan. So we're looking at a hyper survivability composition coming out of Evil Geniuses. And on the other side, for Maelstrom, they have a more divey composition. And the divey compositions are usually intended to kill someone very quickly. But if your enemy team is all about sustain and big health bars and not dying, you have a bit of a challenge ahead. You have a bit of a challenge ahead of you. But Cathan is just dancing like a wolf. He's trying to find his tail. You know, dogs chase their tails all the time, and he's doing his best to chase it. But like many other dogs, he will not succeed. But either way, why stop? There's nothing else to do. He's going to get hit with an owl. He's going to be confused by that and just turn into a man. That's what happens. Or an orc at the very least. And a lot of pressure in this bottom lane. So Idra just sieges up, going to get some damage done onto this wall in the bottom lane, forcing out the rotation out of Maelstrom. So they have this very divey comp. Idra is the one damage dealer on the side of Evil Geniuses. There's a lot of pressure on him to deal some damage. Oh. So, speaking of composition-wise, when you go this double tank, double support style, and it's not a super common thing, but it definitely exists, you kind of need to lean towards more damage-dealing talents for your tanks. You can, if you have something like Tyrande, Tassadar, sure, they can be more of a damage dealer, but in this case, that's not the case. They have Uther, Rehgar, they're going to be full-on support, 90% of the way, probably pick up Feral Lunge, but Faye is going to be going more of a tank go. Concussive Blast not available to use on Biceps. If it was used right after the hook, kill very well could have been picked up because that would have given time for Chef to come down, but not the case here. And again, our focus is supposed to be Rehgar, and looking at his build, he once again is grabbing Farsight. We saw how much of an impact Farsight had on that last game, and once again, that's what we're going to see even in the hands of a different player on a different map. Because, hey, it's Cursed Hollow, and what do we talk about? We talked about the viability of big flanks happening. Oh, I'm just going to surprise him with a big bite. You walk around a bush, you just get bit by a wolf? That sucks. That sucks. But K1 Pros can be okay because she's a demon hunter, and Vala has dealt with worse, so she's going to carry on. But now here is that first spawn of the tribute. We can zoom way out to see that little battle happen, and we can see C9 is trying to put on a little bit of a party bush action, but through that, they're going to have to throw that Sentinel out to stall out Faye a little while. And will they get their time? No. Yeah, the multi-shot was just a little bit out of range. It's just not quite too fat to be caught. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Cathan Luck getting caught off guard. Of course, the Ancient Spear coming out from Sonya, that's a stun, and gives Sonya a ton of fury to work with, and then the Lunar Flare follow-up with Hunter's Mark. Even with that healing ward thrown down, not going to be enough to keep him alive. Meanwhile, iDream putting a lot of pressure on this top lane, and, well, we got everyone else rotating around the map. These Giants sieging up, doing what they can, and of course, we do have the Tyrande-Sonya pair. Now, we've seen Tyrande paired with heroes like Arthas, Kerrigan, other heroes that have stuns, or Polans, or roots, or whatever, and you just throw that Hunter's Mark on them, paired with the damage output of the two heroes, and you can just blow people up. And Sonya definitely works in the same kind of sense. Ancient Spirit is a little bit harder to hit the skill shot on, like as successfully, doesn't have as much of a range, and it's definitely got a smaller width than some things like the Howling Blast out of Arthas, but it's still very effective, and let me tell you, the damage output from the slam build Sonya is quite dangerous. But this is a bit more tanky Sonya. So we've got the Furious Blow, we've got the Shattered Ground, but still do have block at level 1. Not going for Shot of Fury, so it doesn't have as much just burst in getting that Fury generation. Constantly, we see this Farsight. It's always revealing the positioning. The last Farsight showed them getting the bruisers. It's getting the bruisers here. So it's giving them knowledge as to what's happening on the map and just saying, hey, look, guess what? We know there's at least 3 of them up there. We can push with this. So they're using that vision not to punish them, but to like know that they're safe to do other things on the map. So a lot of people will say, hey, well, Farsight, yeah, if you're using it, we're not actually capitalizing on it. No, it's the knowledge that you have the freedom to do other things across the map and be safe to push with your Sergeant Hammer. That's the big benefit there. And the Lunar Flare not going to quite connect with Chef. And this is just going to be kind of like just a stale fight. No one's going to end up dying there unless a massive misplay happens. It's pretty unlikely. And you can see the lane clear. When you play as Rehgar and you have to push back the lane, he doesn't have multi-shot, he doesn't have side storm, he's not the most efficient. What you need to be sure to do is you want to get in the middle of that pack. You see Kathan is kind of on the edge. If you know the minions are focused on enemy minions and not you, you don't want to tank all the damage from the minion pack. But if you can safely wait for them to all choose their targets and then step into the middle of the pack with that lightning shield, it can really just maximize the surface area in which you're hitting. But look at this very aggressive play. Once again, Farsight revealing the positioning on the Golem, and this time it will be enough to force Maelstrom off. They decide this is not worth it. The risk is a little bit too much. They know exactly where you are, and it forces them off that boss. So all Maelstrom invested was time, and it's not a big deal. But the stage dive Divine Storm is going to connect with Caffeine. But that Tranquility is so very powerful, keeping them alive. Caffeine backs up to get enough health before he can re-engage. Make sure to take out the healing totem. And then the Ancestral Healing does come out from Kathan Lock onto ZP. ZP now has a second health bar. He can get back into that front line. We're looking at this double support style, but Uther has been chased out of the fight by K1 Pro, and he is very much away from his team. Well tapped up by Faye, and the Tribute is waiting, but Uther is so far away right now. It's a 5v4 in favor of Maelstrom, and this is why EG is being so very cautious, just trying to stall this out. Hammer doing a good job. They're just buying time, not committing, because the enemy team likely knows Uther's not available, but that's not necessarily the case in this situation. And, ooh, okay, alright, the hook goes out, no connect, and we see Isaac moving forward, trying to deal that damage. There's so many stuns landing on him, he's just been locked in place, but he's doing a good amount of work. Of course, those heroics still on cooldown, only Napalm Strike is available, and that's only got a 6-second cooldown, so that doesn't really mean anything. And our Janitor Illidan going forward, the Hunter Smart goes down on ZPs, and that just means he needs to get out of that situation. You cannot fight when you take 25% additional damage, you just can't do it. Whenever you have Hunter Smart on you, the correct, you know, response is to leave the fight 9 times out of 10. So, no depths, because double tank, double support, it creates a very low death game. And I now remember this game much more clearly than when I actually cast it the other day. K1 Pro disconnects. And K1 Pro disconnects for a long time. He's down and out for a while. We're going to speed this up a little bit as we do have the bosses being taken. We see the top boss was picked up by Maelstrom, and they are pushing with it. And EG will slowly but surely take this bottom boss. Now, it takes them a lot longer to kill a boss because they're 2 tanks, 2 supports, and only 1 assassin. So doing any kind of like objective camping or capping that requires you to deal damage, they're much slower. They're much slower at split pushing. They're much slower at anything that deals with burning something down. If it came down to a base race, they would lose no matter what because their damage input. iDream gonna have to metamorphosis out of there to get on out and carry on with his life. And this will signal Maelstrom to, yeah, they did some damage, they took the wall out, they did some damage to that tower, but they do have to defend this boss, and they don't want to let that boss get to their wall. Already at half health, still gotta deal with it, no matter how you look at it. All in all, so far this Rehgar build is identical. We haven't seen a single adjustment. It's one of the many styles we thought we might see. Feral Heart and Farsight both have their place, but Farsight has gotten used time and time again. It definitely can never underestimate the power of knowledge in a game like this. Any competitive game, knowledge is huge. You look at any games, I mean StarCraft of course, that's very obvious, but any MOBA, Counter-Strike, you know their positioning, you name it. Knowledge is so important, and that's exactly what Farsight is. It's just a bag of knowledge. Alright, well the next curse is spawning. The hook goes out, does not connect at 16 seconds on cooldown, and ZPs is doing what he can to channel that. I think he will succeed in this, and that will get a curse for Evil Geniuses. Maelstrom wasn't in a good position to commit to that. They would have had to walk all the way around here. At that point, if you're not in position and the enemy team is waiting on that tribute, it's always a risk to try to collapse on that. It's very, very, very difficult. And they're pushing forward now. Think to remember, K1 Pro is not in the game, and that's something that I can't stress enough. Like, they're waiting for their teammate to reconnect. They're just trying to wait and stall it out because that follower did disconnect. And it's going to be a very safe, slow defense, trying to stall this out, trying to wait for K1 Pro to re-enter the game because there's no pause feature yet in the beta of Heroes of the Storm. So very, very passive play, and this is kind of what you have to do, especially in competitive. They're making the best of a bad situation, really. And through this, this is allowing ZPs to split push in the top with this curse, so the experience has actually, for the first time, taken the lead on the blue side of the map with the EG, finally taking a bit of an advantage. And they put that bit of push in with the curse. Now, the curse allowed them to pick up all the forts. All the forts have now been removed from the game. And Maelstrom is, again, just kind of on their back foot. They just got to slowly wait and hope that whatever the situation is, whether K1 Pro's computer locked up, internet went out, whatever, I assume they have an idea that he's on his way back, so they're just stalling, waiting for him to get back in. And the reconnect feature takes time. So once he actually rejoins the game, his game has to literally load the replay that is happening at that time to connect it back up and then catch him up to speed before he can rejoin playing in the game. And yeah, just kind of running around collecting objectives. We can actually just put it on a little bit of fast forward, as it's, again, going to be incredibly passive. We'll put it on a lot of bit of fast forward. It's going to be a very passive play as long as Vala is not in the game. But she does reconnect. Don't you worry. And a lot of damage going down. We can watch that fight again. I think the hook was the name of the game when it boils down to it, but we can take a look at it. Not in super fast forward. And yeah, we see that meta goes down on iDream. He was pulled out into that fight, and they did a good job with the double tank pulling him. So they had that hook, they had the stun, they had the totem, and then ZP's dashed forward and knocked him back. So even with Metamorphosis and First Aid and all the sustainability that Illidan can have, it doesn't matter, because once you get hooked in, then the Valobot gets her life ruined. Caffeine trying to provide a distraction here in the back line. Very cheeky play. I mean, he is separated from his team, and he does not have Heroic Leap, if I'm not mistaken. This was, in fact, a Berserker build. So, very bold play by Caffeine, trying to divert their attention, and he's going to try to spook Idra. That's really his goal here, is to spook Idra, but there's still two teammates down on his side, and the keep ultimately does end up falling. Malfi just doing Malf things, wrecking this top lane, doing his best to keep it, you know, the push to a minimum. And Sonya is going to start on this bruiser camp. Once again, we'll put it in fast forward as we are just patiently waiting for the return of Vala. Smack. Smack. K1 Pro is now playing. It's actually, I think it's true. I think he's back. I think he's actually back. You see, yes, that is not a bot. Bots don't walk like that. They don't stutter step. Yeah, we got a game again, guys. So at the 13-minute mark, Vala returns to our fight. And at this point in time, 16 has been achieved. And one thing to consider is these Vala talents. Tempered by Discipline and Tumble. Both picked up by the bot. Not really what Vala wants to see. Tumble, of course, two charges of Vault. And then Tempered by Discipline. Gain up to 10 stacks of Discipline after Hatred stacks are maxed. Basic attacks heal for 3% of damage dealt to the primary target per Discipline stack. It's cool, and it's interesting. But it's definitely not the norm. Typically, we'd see Frost Shot equipped there. So thanks, Followbot, for the cool build, and we're going to see how it actually pans out. But Rehgar, he's our star today with Unlock, is sitting there, not on his Master Rehgar skin. He should step that up, but he's moving forward, and the Ancient Spear comes up from the side. The Future Battle is forced out. Lunar Flare connecting with no one, and Stage Dive in the middle. Put Biceps into a bad spot, but look at this. He pops Ice Block before he can get Tranquility off, but Tranquility is still available. Watch his position here, rotating around, staying alive the best they can. The ancestral healing was huge, but it's not enough. They finally pick up the first kill. That is, of course, the ETC that fell. And when you have 40% additional damage from the Sonya with that Berserker, it hurts hard. Which I wish I could slow-mo this. I wish I could slow-mo that entire engagement because I want to watch it again. There's so many crazy things that happened in that fight. All right, making sure we're rewound enough. And yeah, so no, still not enough. Still not enough. Apparently, it was a really long fight. All right, is this it? Is this real? Oh, what is that? What is that? All right, so here is the fight. They dismount and then they immediately engage on Tefei. But look at this. They turn around and they throw that hook out. Biceps get hit Divine Storm, and then they hook him, but he ice blocks. A lot of damage going down on Idra. Ancestral healing used, but not really needed because the other heals from first aid, so it was used a bit preemptively. Could have been saved for ZPs, and that could have changed a lot of things for our Rehgar. Now, finally using that healing ward, but it immediately gets blown up by Maelstrom. Nicely done on their part, and the sustain of Malfurion, the amount of cooldowns, the amount of abilities they threw into killing that Malfurion, and then the denial with Ice Block is kind of why that was such a convincing fight for Maelstrom. So this is the first fight they take after bringing back their Vala. So Vala is finally not a bot. They take this fight and they take it very convincingly. So that's kind of the power. That's the, I guess, the give and take when it comes to Ancestral Healing. Ancestral Healing is the most powerful heal in the game for a single target. And he used it on what looked like to be a near-dead Hammer, because you see that health bar at half, and you assume it's a focus target, right? Hammer is your priority target to keep alive because it's the only assassin you have. So you say, oh crap, I have to heal him. But guess what? The chain heal and the first aid on that Hammer, not knowing the cooldown, kind of cost him because it only actually healed him about 20% of his health bar. And if he had, oh, that would be my mouse. If he had used it a little bit, if he saved it and didn't use it in that situation, then he had it for ETC. That entire fight could have turned around the other way. So it's really difficult to make the right call with Ancestral, because even if you do get the heal off, maybe it wasn't the right time for it. And it comes down to milliseconds. It's so hard. And sometimes you just don't know. Your enemy team can outplay you by thinking that you want to use it on that Hammer, and they force you to waste it because they're like, well, they're going to expect that. So instead, we're going to kill this target. So there's a lot of mind games that happen, especially at the high level, and in that situation, that is pretty much what happened. They had the ability to kill Hammer, so the Rehgar expected that, but that's not what they opted to do. They switched their target over to one of the tanks, and they blew him up using the power of all their assassins. Of course, when you have Hunter's Mark on Tyrande, that allows you to kill something. Really nice cleanse by Chef, getting out of that situation. If he did not cleanse himself, he would have in fact fallen. And those pigs got a nice fiery hearth on the ground, keeping them warm, making sure they're nice, ready for this winter. I wonder what season it is here in Curse Hall. I guess it's fall, harvest, you know, winter's on the horizon. I almost said winter's coming, and I did not say it, and I'm proud of myself for stopping myself, but I ultimately just say it. But EG suddenly on the back foot, 20 right around the corner for Maelstrom. They want to take this series because this will in fact end the game, and they're doing what they can to do that. Grabbing the final Merc Camp available, and let's look at the boss timers right quick. 1 minute. 1 minute and 45 seconds. Looking at the healing and the damage, 38,000 out of Rehgar. He is bossing it up, leading the charts. That's the power of the Healing Totem Ancestral and, of course, Chain Heal. But they're a little bit behind right now. Now, Stitch is going to full-on Cleaveville, Pulverize, Mega Smash, Ground, and a Heavy Slam. No surprise, because guess what? They're running double tank, so they kind of need that damage desperately. And as a result, he's doing some pretty good damage, sitting at 20k, 27k, just behind Vala. So it's working out for him in that regard. But they still need to find those right engagements. They need to get the damage output from that Hammer and make sure that they can get Hammer to in a great spot to just kind of unleash the damage. 20 is going to make a big difference for them. They need that 20 because Nexus Frenzy would be really nice, but they also have to worry about the imposing presence on the other side, because Sonya does have the single imposing presence that, of course, reduces the attack speed of the targets attacking it by 50%. And what does Hammer go for? Likely Nexus Frenzy? Yes, Nexus Frenzy is cooked up. That's 20% range and attack speed increase. And on a siege tank, any more range is kind of nice. Well, they're pacing around. They're feeling each other out. Caffeine in the bottom. Doing caffeine things. and Maelstrom is rotating around. Tributes are only 1-0, but Maelstrom, they don't care about the tribute right now. They care about the pressure they have with this boss. So this boss walking up the top lane, that gives them the freedom to come down and pick up the other boss. We can see the far sight coming out from Rehgar, giving them the vision of this happening. But they're not in position to stop it. And if they just charge in like this, well, we'll see how it pans out as the Putrid Bile is going off. We can see ZPs and Faye both get hit with that Lunar Flare, and just the burst potential is there. The Divine Storm wasn't quite there when they needed it, a little bit sooner as the team initiated a bit early, and they kind of throw their lives away, and the Janitor will do his best to clean up. You see the Ancestral brought him back to full, but it doesn't even matter because so much burst potential. The rewind on Toronto, giving you that second Lunar Flare, securing another kill. Well played. Maelstrom will take that game. And on this map, we got to see the difference in playstyle a little bit from Rehgar. Now, the talent tier is identical. I mean, every talent was exactly the same, if I am not mistaken. But Farsight, it's huge. It's so impactful. Ancestral Healing can just change fights, but it also can lose fights. If you don't get the perfect execution and you use it a little bit too soon, well, it's not going to have the kind of impact on the fight you're looking for. But still, it's just the power of the hero. Requires a lot of precision. It requires a lot of positioning in terms of like putting your healer wards down in the right place at the right time, getting those chain heals off impactfully, and making sure you maximize the damage on that lightning bond. So you throw the earth shield or the lightning shield onto the ETC when he dashes forward, and then you increase your damage with that. So there's a lot of like just small subtleties that make it very difficult, but yeah, Rehgar lost. We're talking about some of the things. I mean, I'm looking at the comments here in the chat, and talking about some of the things that can really impact Rehgar. So we saw how, in the first game, we saw how crazy he can turn fights. And Rehgar by no means lost that second game. Ooh, thank you for the follow, my friend. Welcome to the Jackass. But in that second fight, I mean, we saw that one really early Ancestral. It's not a common thing to do, but it does happen quite frequently in tournaments. And yes, Diablo was banned in both of those games. Diablo was banned out for both of those games. And that's why EG tried to snipe up the top tier supports. They tried to snipe. They got Rehgar Uther and they got ETC Stitches, but they just didn't have enough damage because in that entire game they only managed to get 2 kills. And when those kind of compositions tend to look so broken in early game, they tend to look so broken. But when you get to late game, they don't scale the same way. They really fall off. Those hyper sustained styles just can't keep up, and you end up getting more and more burst damage as you hit level 20, 16 even, and you can just eliminate targets, even if it's tank. And especially when you have Tyrande, that 25% additional damage, it doesn't matter how big your health pool is, you're taking so much damage. I mean, we saw countless times heroes just melted. They just got obliterated. You got caught in that Lunar Flare with the Hunter's Mark on you, and then you just get blown up. So GG's there, and that's Rehgar. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit about the different styles of Rehgar, the different talents and how they work. Sorry for not using a Bloodlust replay in today's show. I'll definitely come back to that. I'll probably do a Wonky Wednesday actually very soon, where I specifically gear teams to do Bloodlust comps. So eventually Wonky Wednesday is going to be very team-based, like group-oriented, at least geared towards like maybe 2 to 3 people in your replays. But I want to see like synergy, like people doing stuff with, you know, just crazy Bloodlust, like Bloodlust Earthquake. The Orc Boys stream. Maybe that could be next week. I don't know. I haven't announced it yet. Kind of scared of the patch that's coming, because we assume the patch is going to be next week. All right. Well, yeah, that's it for for the daily quest number 10. The stream will in fact continue. Just gonna sign out here, guys. And before I do sign out, you can vote for myself and the podcast that I run, Town Hall Heroes, in the Blizzard Stream Awards. So Twitch is putting up a lot of money, and all these awards are going out for streamers for every single Blizzard title. And you can vote. I'm both listed as the best overall stream, and I'm also listed as the best overall show for Town Hall Heroes. So if you guys have not voted yet, I would very much appreciate your votes. That's on the Battle.net forums. You can find all the information if you go to the news section, Heroes of the Storm, or just below here in the information on the YouTube VOD and in, of course, on my Twitch page. Voting only happens for like the next week. So yes, go vote. But on that note, guys, I am in fact going to get ready to stream some more Hero League. We are very close to rank 1. 2 more games, and we got rank 1. The dream. The dream. Back in just a second.